So a while back, I got an email from the Ubisoft mailing list telling me something about Far Cry 5. Now at first I was actually kind of surprised, not really, because I knew that they were going to be making another Far Cry game. I mean, how can they not? Far Cry is probably one of their most rotary franchise where they end up pushing one of these games out whenever they want to really get into the open world, blow anything up bandwagon. Now, I'm not really against Far Cry. In fact, I really like Far Cry, which is why I'm making this video, because I played almost all of the Far Cry games, save for some of the original spin-off games, like the one on the Wii or something. I might play that one day. But I like the Far Cry games. I played all of them. You know, I really have enjoyed all of those games, just because they're really one of those games that I put into my PlayStation or Xbox, PC, whatever, and if I want to fuck around, blow shit up, take things stealth, do things whatever, any way that I want, I play those games. They're that, in that regards, I enjoy Far Cry. And when I got the email about Far Cry 5 in my inbox, I was like, you know, this is going to be pretty interesting. So the more information that ended up coming out, I stayed away. I wanted to completely be blind to the game till about E3 when they would show gameplay typically for Far Cry. But lately this controversy's kicked off, and it's kicked off because of some subject matter in the game. So I was looking around on the internet, seeing what the game consisted. I watched the trailers and whatnot, and from what anybody can gather, basically the game takes place in the United States, Montana to be more exact. And in this state of Montana, what has happened is a doomsday cult, apparently, they call themselves the Eden's Gate, led by this father figure, have taken over the area, and, you know, they're basically putting people down. You know, they're basically a fucking doomsday cult that has gone off the fucking rocker. Now, me being myself, I love Far Cry in its outlandish situations. That's what Far Cry to me has always really been. You know, it's always been a Far Cry from every other game in the franchise. Horrible pun, I know. Basically, Far Cry 1, for those of you, you know, I'm going to give you a little bit of history over here. Far Cry 1, you know, you played as Jack Carver, you know, in Micronesia, all right, that's what it was. Far Cry 2, you play in Africa hunting the jackal. Far Cry 3, you're some college kid that's been fucking embroiled in this, you know, situation where you're being fucked over, you're being hunted by a smuggler, a person who sells people, all right? Far Cry 4, you're this dude who went back to Karat. Shit's fucked up. Guess what? You blow stuff up. Far Cry 5, similar setting, only it's in America this time. And it seems like people have made this political for some reason. I really fucking hate it lately when games have gotten full-on political. You know, even to the point where other games themselves that have no reason to get political end up having this little bit of a political tone by people outside of the gaming media or something, such as, Horizon Zero Dawn, for instance. Even on the tiniest scale, things get political to some extent. And I don't understand why. Have you motherfuckers who complained about Far Cry 5 or talk about it, get all preachy about it, understand the franchise you're talking about? Far Cry is not a plot-ridden franchise, okay? Far Cry is not something that's trying to deliver some political message. It's a game where you blow shit up in any single way you want, whatever way, alright? It's all up to you. A lot of people have criticized Far Cry 3, 4, and Primal for being boring. Primal, to an extent, I'll agree. But shit, people have complained that Far Cry is boring. I'm like, you know, for the people that play Blood Dragon, all those games, you know that Far Cry gives you a point on the map, right? It dots something on the map. It says, we want you to take care of these guys. Now, you can take care of them in the stealth manner, which a lot of people kind of do. You can go in there and blow shit up, or you can do what I do. Get yourself a bunch of trucks, drive in, attach C4, see the explosions, watch the fire propagation system, burn everything fucking alive, throw in some goddamn tigers and elephants, bam, you got yourself a fucking game right there. What other game lets you do that kind of shit? Not many, let me tell you. Far Cry is like the better version of Assassin's Creed, I guess. Like, Assassin's Creed always stops you from, like, killing innocent people or doing, like, some actual mayhem and shit. I mean, you can, but not to the extent that this game offers. A lot of people dub it as Skyrim with guns, for the right reasons. Skyrim is fun, guns are fun, combine them together, you've got double the fun. But Far Cry 5 seems to have attracted its level of controversy for little no more reason than some people throwing around this thing such as, well, white genocide. Alright, they're throwing out terms that they don't really understand. They're throwing out the fact that it's very politically charged. It's a post-Trump era America. And again, may I remind these people, you're talking about Far Cry, motherfucker. You're not talking about a franchise that's trying to deliver a serious message. Almost all of these games have a single goal, alright? It's taking over points on the map, blowing up the enemy faction, and anything you want in between. And the reason why I'm making this video and why it's kind of necessary is I've noticed that a lot of these games that you're playing recently that have got themselves caught up in this political drama, you know, Ukulele, for instance, or something like that. Any game that has got themselves in that political sphere has had one awful thing happen to them, and that's either removal of content. You know, in Ukulele's case, it's either shifting content entirely, it's either having some really stupid response by the developers, or the game outright getting canceled. And we've seen that time and time over again. And unfortunately, a similar situation could occur with something like, say, Far Cry 5. A lot of companies love controversy. You know, you look at Rockstar Games, Grand Theft Auto is popular because of its controversy. Seriously, ever since that game initially came out, the first Grand Theft Auto, all the way up until 5, all of its installments have gotten some form of controversy in the media. Not saying that those are bad games, of course, they're games that are loved on its own merits, but controversy is what made that series really thrive, and it's what got that series to the place where it's at. A game like Far Cry can definitely benefit off of controversy, but it's also up to how Ubisoft handles controversy too. Lately, a lot of these companies have gotten really up in arms with trying to please everyone, that unfortunately it bleeds more so into their products. And whether you want to make the case for this or not, a lot of other Ubisoft franchises, a lot of gaming franchises have done this kind of crap too, where they've shifted some of the game around, they've hired people around, like, fuck, look at what happened to Mass Effect Andromeda, for example. They wanted to bring so many fucking people of so many different, you know, I guess, calibers and whatnot, and they wanted to make this, they wanted to make a game that would appeal to everyone that ultimately didn't fucking appeal to anyone, so they ended up kind of hurting a franchise more so than really helping it, right? And of course, there's many things that went into that game that are not related to politics at all, let's be fucking serious here. This game could face a similar fucking situation, and the reason I'm making this video is, again, like I said, I love Far Cry. I love dicking around in video games. Far Cry lets me dick around in video games. There's not many other franchises that I can play where I can dick around as much as I can in Far Cry, right? Somehow, in some way, they've made a franchise where dicking around is basically a bullet point for every single box that they ship out. And it's all fine. Add co-op to that, it's one of the finer experiences you can play. I think no other franchise does dicking around better than Far Cry. You know, Far Cry's up there in what it does. Maybe sometimes Ubisoft gets it, sometimes they don't, but they got a really killer formula on their hands. But the thing is, they're playing a fine line doing this kind of crap, where if you go too far into this, you end up alienating a lot of that mainstream crowd, and that could eventually fuck up the sales for this thing beyond belief. Or the whole situation can play vice versa. At the end of the day, the biggest problem is a lot of people in the mainstream side of things are falling for the stupidest shit ever. There was a petition for this game to get canceled, which is obviously a troll petition, but a lot of people followed it seriously and ended up calling people who play video games primarily racist, or, you know, some stupid shit like that. And again, it's not a fault of anybody, really. It's a fault of, I guess, everyone to an extent, you know, kind of falling in for this crap or supporting the crap of, you know, some media sites actually playing into this kind of bullshit, or some people just trolling around and letting their voices be heard. At the end of the day, I don't understand the controversy really surrounding a game like Far Cry 5. I don't get it. It's a game where you dick around. Seriously, that's all it is. The situation that's present in the game is actually rather interesting. You know, we've seen many situations in Far Cry. You know, you've gotten all the way from, you know, mutations in the first game, to African drug lords in the second game, to fucking crazy human, like, slave runners in the third game, all the way out to pagan men in the fourth, and then Primal, you know, had its own little flair, I guess you could say, all the way up to 5. These games work off of outlandish situations, and what more fun can you have than a fucking doomsday cult? I think that's about the funnest fucking thing you can have. And to my extent, I have not met one person in my life that I showed this game to, you know, even if they were fucking hyper religious or not, which a few of them I showed were, they weren't offended by the game, because it's a fucking game, motherfucker, alright? That's all it is. And it's a franchise where, again, the primary thing is to fucking give yourself RPGs, assault rifles, shotguns, go on a hunting spree. I would be fucking shocked if Ubisoft didn't allow me to fucking, you know, skin the cultists or something and make bags out of that shit. I don't, you know, I'm pretty sure Ubisoft at that point would do it. But again, on a serious note, I would really like if this franchise would not go through the same fucking issues that a lot of the other franchises that get a lot of political heat go through, which is removing content, cutting out content, shifting things around, because at the end of the day, it hurts more than it could even think of helping. And again, I don't understand the controversy surrounding something like, say, Far Cry 5. The setting is interesting. A lot of people show interest towards it. It's one of those games that genuinely seems like it can be a fun, good time. Nobody's expecting a serious situation out of something that has Far Cry in the title, okay? You play something like Blood Dragon, you play something like 4, you're supposed to have a good time and just let your inner 80s action movie come out, which is something that I see this game really, really bringing out. And from all intents and purposes, I know this might end up being one of those decent games that I could really invest tons of hours into. It's Far Cry, alright? You know what you're getting. It's like getting Elder Scrolls. You know what you're getting at that point. But again, because of the situation, because maybe it's set in America or something like that and it's too close to home, I don't get it. I don't understand why some people blew this out of proportion. It really makes no sense. It's the same kind of controversy that you could have equally applied to something like, say, Far Cry 3 or Far Cry 2 even. For Far Cry 5 to come out with the balls to really include such a hilarious situation, where again, it is just a little hilarious situation. Nothing in this game is meant to be taken seriously, but a lot of people, unfortunately, are taking this kind of shit at face value. One thing that I have to give Ubisoft is after watching both of those trailers, it just comes off as a fucking cheesy action flick, if anything, right? It's not trying to give a serious fucking message, and I hope Ubisoft ends up keeping it that way. And at the end of the day, it comes down to how much balls Ubisoft really has in order to keep this as tame as they can, in order to keep it as pure as they're really, shelling it out to us, and for them not to really take in this false criticism, because a lot of the criticisms made by people about this game or the setting that it's taken place for, 90% of that are by people who have no interest in even getting this game, probably don't even fucking own a console to play this game on, and they're just saying it for the sake of bitching. At the end of the day, Far Cry 5 is a game that I'm really hoping comes out as pure as it can, and I hope I get to play this setting sooner or later, because fucking around in this cult-ridden place in Montana sounds more interesting to me than some of the other games that are frankly coming out. So, hey, me being a Far Cry guy, I hope this game comes out in the manner that it is. But, as always, I like to ask you what you think about it. Haven't had one of these rant times in a while. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it if you dislike it. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.